All right, we're live. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Hump Day Hangouts for the first day of May 2019. We have a really special guest for you guys today, which is going to be awesome. But before we get into that, I want to go the round robin and say hi to everybody because we don't have Madam Secretary today with us.
You forgot you forgot the episode number 234.
Oh, there you go. And that's why we keep Adam, not because he's handsome, you know. And so let me get this in order. Okay, so I got Adam. What's up, Adam? How are you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing super well. Thanks so much for having me.
But
Awesome.
but remember, that's not the same Adam that everyone's used to seeing. So
I'll get to that in a second. What's up, Marco?
Sorry, I was talking to a dead mic. I'm good, man. Mayday. Let's celebrate communism.
And hey, what's up, Bradley? How are you doing, man?
I don't know how to follow that. So good to go, man.
All right, awesome. Okay, cool. So yeah, in case you guys haven't noticed yet, we have Adam from Loganics today with us, and it's really cool to have him on board. We have been promoting his products and whatnot with great pleasure, and it's a great pleasure to have Adam. And before we go into that, I wanted to give you guys a rundown of announcements, which I got from our main man Adam Moody here, which is basically, if you're new to Semantic Mastery, welcome. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're watching this live, thank you for being here. If not, don't forget to subscribe and whatnot. If you want to get a repeatable step-by-step system to rank your websites, don't forget to get the SEO Battleplan, which you can get by going to battleplan.semanticmastery.com. You can also go to mgyb.co for all your done-for-you SEO services, everything that you need over there. And if you're ready to take it up a notch, you can always join the Semantic Mastery Mastermind, which is pretty awesome. We have local business owners and agency owners, and that is pretty cool over there. And I just wanted to give you guys a tease about this, is that we're getting a facelift on our flagship GMB program. So we're going to talk a little bit about that later on as well. So with that being said, I think that I didn't miss anything. Did I miss anything, Bradley?
Subscribe to our YouTube channel.
There you go. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. So with that being said, we have Adam Steele from Loganics. What's up, my man? So it's great to have you here. This was long due because we've known each other for quite a while, right?
Yeah, I think we've sort of mutually been following each other. I don't know, probably since what? I want to say 2012, 2013, something like that.
Yeah.
How long have you guys been in the industry?
Well, Semantic Mastery, we started this as a company, I think in 2013 or maybe 14. Might have been 14. Yeah. But yeah, it's been a while. So
it's been a while. So, and I like that T-shirt that you have in, man. It's pretty cool.
You like that?
Yeah, it's pretty good. You got it. All right. So
just as a proper introduction, Adam is the owner of Loganics or Loganics. I asked him, he said potato. So, but you guys know I've talked about them a lot. Hands down, it's the best citation cleanup service out there. And I also like that he's got the monthly citation building, which are really nice, as well as social profiles and different kind. They're both structured and unstructured citations that get built. It's a really good service. It's like the Cadillac of citation services, as opposed to the other services that are much more like compact cars, is the way I look at it. And so typically when I have any clients that need citation cleanup, which happens fairly often, I always go directly to him. Even though there's other vendors out there that might do stuff cheaper, they don't get as good as results. And so, by the way, citations are not the only thing that he does over there. That's just typically what I talk about because that's the service that I use the most. But I know that Adam's put a lot of work into recently adding a lot of additional services and more higher end services as well. So if you guys haven't had a chance to take a look at it, I am going to drop my affiliate link, but it's semanticmastery.com/Loganix, LOGANIX. And you can go see what all kind of services he has. It's a great white label service, guys. Again, if you've got if you've got lower end clients, it might not be the best idea for you, but a lot of you guys are doing well with your clients, and it's a great service because the reports are beautiful, all of that. So can't say enough good things about Loganix's service.
Thank you, Bradley. I appreciate that. Very
You're
kind.
welcome, man.
Got
So
it.
with that, we also, I guess, Adam, you got anything cooking on your end? Like, anything new services that you want to talk about, or anything that that's been in recent development, or anything industry, industry news or industry related, I should say, that you'd like to shine some of your expertise on right now, or what?
I guess a little bit of both. For starters, I've been heads down focusing on the link building part of our business, trying to the lists that we previously offered, sometimes a la carte, sometimes previously by domain authority. We were selling a lot of stuff that was your typical guest post stuff. Like, you go to the site and you pull up, say, the most recent 10 posts, and it was like super, super obvious. Oh yeah, this is a paid guest post site, or they do paid guest posting. And so we've more or less rid our list of that, going from somewhere of, I don't know, somewhere between 50 and 100,000, give or take 10,000 sites on our list, to something a lot smaller, somewhere to the tune of, 5, 6, maybe 700 sites total. And we applied a very strict criteria, both quantitative, so metric related stuff, like they have at least 500 monthly organic visits as per Ahrefs, and more qualitative stuff like pull up the last 10 posts, read every single one of them. What's the content quality? Who was the author? Where's the author from? What else have they written? Is there social engagement? Is there comments? Who are they linking out to? Go check out the site they're linking out to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So just making sure that it's not stuff that's going to get our customers in trouble down the road. So my life has pretty much just been that for the last 3 or 4 months, and probably for the foreseeable future. So there's that. And then on the news side of things, something that's kind of caught my attention lately, and I'd love to get everybody's opinion on it, is paid GMB in the future. Are we looking at a future where we're paying, or everybody in GMB is paying per lead? Are we looking at a future where we're paying a monthly fee to have a GMB? What does that do to fake listings? Are they gone, or do people just pay, or that kind of thing? So my team and I have been discussing that at length the last few days. I guess a few tweets from some folks brought that on. I think Alphabet had some pretty not so great, it's still commendable gains, but people are now saying that, okay, well, now they need to find a way to make more money, and Maps is on their hit list, supposedly. Yeah. Oh, and there was some sort of a survey that they had going around. I didn't personally see it. I saw screenshots of it, but they were basically asking questions about how would we pay for GMB, what we'd like to see, all that kind of stuff. So it sounds like it may be happening sometime in the near future.
It's in the pipeline, possibly. Yeah. I think it's multifaceted why they're doing it. It could be because they want to generate more revenue, but I also think it's also a way to combat spam.
Sure.
And that whenever the mobile first index occurred in July last year, it opened up this huge, like gaping hole for spam GMBs. And, a lot of us have been taking advantage of that. And so I think that, and we knew that the days were going to be numbered. It had a limited shelf life. But we've always said, exploit it while you can. And, I've assumed that one of two things were going to happen. Was one, that it could go paid, which would eliminate a lot of spam listings right off the bat, because a lot of people aren't going to pay for spam listings if they're not generating real revenue for them, or people won't attempt to try to start new ones. Or number two would be to require a lot more verification, like submitting corporate documents, for example, in order to get to register or verify a profile, that kind of stuff. And so, I think that I think that they're going to do whatever they can to kill the spam side of it. And, you know, we've seen a lot of changes over the last maybe 6 or 8 weeks now where, you know, they've done things to try to prevent that. And it seems like, you know, it's the cat and mouse game, Adam, that we always play. You know, they close one loophole and we find it somewhere else. You know, we crack the code somewhere else. And when I say we, I mean all of us in this industry. So, you know, I feel like even if they do go that way, there's still going to be opportunity. I mean, for example, I've got a number of lead generation assets that are produced very, very well for me that I'd be willing to pay for. There's no question. And I think if you approach it that way, it's just the cost of doing business. You know, you work that into your overall cost for, you know, and pass that off through the cost per lead and that kind of thing. If you're going to do it that way. Number two, I think that even if they do that, there's still always going to be workarounds that we're going to be able to, you know, figure out. And again, when I say we, I mean us as a industry as a whole, not just us. You know what I'm saying? So, it's every time there's a big change in anything that has to do with Google, especially, it's like, and you know, Adam, you've been around for a long time, so you get this, but this is more for our audience's benefit. A lot of people run around with their hair on fire, like, you know, the sky is falling, and it's not the case. It's, you know, even if it's a really big shakeup, let the dust settle, figure it out, you know, take a few deep breaths and then work through it. And you'll always find additional opportunity. At least that's my opinion. So, Marco.
Yeah, I'd like to first and foremost toast to Google being broken, of course. So let me have a drink. Because every time they do something stupid, they open up another stupid door. And, you know, stupidity it's kind of like a domino. Stupidity domino. So whatever it is that they're doing, somewhere along the line, guys, we're talking about, if we knew that how huge the algorithm actually was, right, and everything that they were trying to control, because every time they tweak something else breaks, and that opens a gaping hole. And so we go and we take advantage of that. And then there's things that they just literally cannot control, because I've mentioned this before. It's part of how the web is built fundamentally. There's things that they just cannot do, no matter how much they try. When what do you call it? When MSN, right? When they try to control Explorer and they try to do things their way, and do you remember how you used to have to code for whatever version of Explorer they were doing, because they were trying to go against the W3C and do things their own way? How did that work for them? Right? Where's Explorer now? How's that? Where's Edge? I mean, now it's Edge. They had to get rid of the Explorer name because it sucks. And, you know, SEOs, we found a way around everything. That's what we do. That's our job. At least for me, my job is to manipulate, to find ways to manipulate them, because they manipulate. Look at it. Now it's an if. So we don't even know if it's going to happen, but you know, it's obviously something that they're thinking about. Whether it happens or not, I mean, if we have to pay for it, we will. We'll just charge our clients a premium, and, you know, they're going to piss off a whole lot of business owners, and I want to see what happens behind that. So I'm kind of looking forward to it.
Preach.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, it's interesting. Whatever happens, we'll figure out a way to still monetize it. That's what we do, like Marco said. So, very cool. Well, just out of curiosity, Adam, about your link building services now that you've been focusing on building now, have you noticed a huge difference since you started really working on the quality of them, and the rank, you know, the boost that it gives to ranking, or the effect that it has on rankings and even traffic for that matter? Because I know, and again, I'd like to get Marco's opinion on this. One of the things that we all know works really well is not just having links anymore. It's having links that have true engagement too, you know, so activity, relevancy, trust, and authority. That's what Marco calls art. You know, and so the fact that you're going out and not just finding places to place links, but also places that have real traffic and real social engagement and that kind of stuff, that has to have a significant effect. And have you seen that, like, you know, consistently?
You know, yes and no. I certainly can't point to any data or anything like that, or tests, like good tests that would sort of conclusively say one thing or another, just because most of the sites that we're working on are not our sites. They're agencies, and those agencies, these are their clients, and they could be doing a million different things at the same time. So it's very hard to, to conclusively say one thing or another. A lot of what we're doing is sort of based on our own theories. We're trying to imagine, okay, you are a Google manual reviewer. You're performing a sniff test on this site. What are you looking for? What do you not want to see? What do you want to see? That kind of thing. So it's very theoretical. I also think what we were doing previously, using topical, like niche specific sites, but ones that certainly engaged in a lot of paid link building. Like I said before, you pull up 10 of their recent posts, and 8 out of 10 were definitely paid. And the 2 were actually native. They were organic. They were written in-house kind of thing. I think that's still working. I think results-wise, I think that's totally still working. I'm not seeing necessarily any more results per se of a site of a similar traffic, but what it's forced us, what all this sort of scrutiny has sort of forced upon us, is we are now working with sites that have much larger amounts of organic traffic and engagement. And while we may not be necessarily seeing better rankings per se, what we are seeing is actual referrals from these sites, or referrals showing up in analytics. And in the case of, we do a little bit of link building for our own site, and in the case of us, we've seen actual money come from this. And that, I think that's it's great to increase rankings and everything, but the real sort of cherry on top, or icing, is when you get referrals, and you get the actual sort of return on investment, if you will, that shows up in analytics.
Yeah, well, relevant traffic, from a referral traffic, if it's relevant traffic, that can convert, as opposed to just having links, which can help rank. And obviously then when people search for a specific query, if they find that, that helps conversions too, but in kind of like a 2-step approach, versus, having relevant traffic coming through links from very well placed links. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think there's a lot of benefit to that. I mean, that's the bottom line. Rankings don't mean shit. It's the revenue generated from them that we all want. You know what I'm saying? So totally. I think that's cool. Marco, you got any comments on that before we get into questions?
No, I mean, he hit the nail on the head, because I talked about this last week, right? That when we did the Syndication Academy update and MGYB, Google is looking for the finish, right? It's looking for that person that's coming through that referral to finish whatever task was set for them to do. So if they land on your website, that's one thing. But if they bounce, well, it was useless, because that person did nothing for you, even though it was relevant and it might have come from authority and trust. Nothing. What happens is that activity is measured at, and I mentioned it, that you need to set, right? Remember, we talked about this. You need to set the goals. You need to analytics, Google Tag Manager, that Facebook pixel, everything, so that everything is picked up and that person is followed all the way through. And what Google wants to see is, they want to see that finish. They want to see that call. They want to see that form fill, or if you're having them download a PDF or whatever in exchange for an email, all that action is what actually sends, it finishes the signal. It's the cherry on top, right? Because, I mean, Google, and we mentioned this with YouTube ads, Google is sending people through YouTube ads to you to see what it is that they're going to do. They're doing the same thing. If you have analytics on your website, you have Tag Manager, you're following them, you're cooking them, then of course they're going to be followed, and everything that they do is going to be seen. That's the art of art: activity, relevance, trust, and authority. Activity on the link. How did they act and react when they got to the destination? Did they finish or did they leave it halfway? Did they come back? That's why it's so important to have them cookied. Because a person may not finish the action on that day, but let's say they came back 15 days later, that still counts if they're cookied, right? So that's why we want all of these things, so that we send. This is one of those times where you definitely want Google to get all of these signals. We hide a whole bunch of shit from Google, right? Tier 2 and out. But in your golden frame, in your T1 branded, you want Google to get as much information as possible about what people are doing when they engage with your links off-site, and when they come on-site, how they engage with, I saw on his T-shirt, with content, right? with links. How do they engage with it? Do they like it? Google, you can bet that they're following that heat map. They're following that person. They're seeing everything that person does. That's the most important part, although links play a vital role in this, because how else is Google going to get those signals if not through links?
Well said, my man. All right. Well,
actually, I was hoping I could just add one more thing to that.
Sure.
We've been doing in order to get all these new links, there's a tremendous amount of outreach that is involved. And one thing that we've seen not only improve the amount of referral traffic that we get from these placements, but also the conversions themselves is, and actually on the outreach side of things, the sort of the amount of emails we get back accepting our content is when we go to these websites. I'm certainly not the one to, I didn't create this or anything. I think I heard of it at a conference, but what we do is we reach out and we do a little bit of keyword research in advance. And so we'll identify keywords that are relevant to the content that they're already producing that they're not presently ranking for. And we'll approach them with that information and say, hey, here's a couple pieces we've recently written. They've received good traffic. We've noticed you don't rank for this particular keyword. We think we could write something really great. And with the sort of domain authority, et cetera, that you already have, I bet if we put together a piece of content for you that is specifically optimized for those keywords, that you would get more monthly organic traffic out of the the deal. And with that, we found a lot less people coming back to us and saying, okay, sure, but I want $200, which sucks. Yeah. But and then of course, the actual people that read it are more engaged and more likely to click and more likely to do something on my site. So I found that to be very valuable.
You pitch it to them as it will benefit them and their overall organic traffic numbers as well, potentially, right?
Yeah, because everybody else that's reaching out to them typically is not really thinking of how does this make them money. So I look at how are they monetizing? Is it AdSense? Is it how are they making their money? Can I put something together that will potentially make them money? Because then they have no reason to charge me, because I'm putting something together that will potentially make them money.
Yeah.
I should be charging them.
Long-term money versus or recurring revenue. For example, obviously if they've got ads on their site and they're getting ad revenue, then, a piece of content that ranks well and gets organic traffic consistently over time, that's going to actually produce a hell of a lot more than $200 for one guest post, that nobody ever sees, really. You know what I'm saying? So totally. Yeah, I totally get that. What is it? WIIFM, what's in it for me, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So very cool. All right. Well, look, we've got not many questions compared to what we usually have. I'm pretty surprised, but we're going to actually go through the ones that we have. And if we need to wrap it up early today, I'm cool with that too. So let me actually grab the screen and we'll get into it. Everybody cool with that? You guys cool with getting into questions?
Yep.
All right. You guys are quiet today on Hump Day Hangouts. You better post some questions or we will wrap it up early, just so you know, which would be like a first, but that's okay. So the first question comes in from Lloyd. He says, I have some older IFTTT accounts, and when I went to log into IFTTT, I noticed all my tier 2 recipes have been turned off. Any idea as to why? Too many RSS feeds, so IFTTT turns them off because it looks like spam. All are re-enabled, so it's working fine now. I don't know. I saw the post in the Syndication Academy Facebook group about that. I think, Lloyd, I don't know if it was you that posted it or what, but I saw a similar post about that. A couple other people commented and said the same thing. That would be a question that I would direct at IFTTT. I'm not sure why that is. I haven't experienced that. Well, I mean, of course, I haven't gone through all of my different networks that I have running to see if anything's been turned off, but the ones that I have seen recently, I haven't seen that problem. So I don't know why that is. I know that typically what happens if they're going to turn off recipes or applets, as they're called now, you usually get email notifications prior to them turning off. Like if there's a reason that they're going to turn them off, if they need attention, for example, or something. Or if they turn them off, you typically get a series of emails saying, that an applet's been turned off or disconnected and it needs to be reconnected. So usually there's some sort of warning signals. If they just arbitrarily turn them off, I don't know why. And that, again, would be something that, I mean, if I had an answer for you, Lloyd, I'd certainly give it to you, but I don't. So that's something that obviously I don't work for IFTTT. I would direct that sort of a question to them, to their support, and see what their explanation is for that. So, all right, the next one is Fitz. What's up, Fitz? He says, thanks for always answering questions on Hump Day. It is appreciated. When we add new sites like Flick or Nimbus or any other new sites, how do we add them same as for ad ID pages on Amazon S3? Okay, well, that's a simple one, Fitz. Here's an example. I pulled this up earlier because I saw your question. I use that technicalseo.com tools schema markup generator, usually when I've got to produce the code for local business, structured data. And right under here is the social profiles. So for each one of these, you click. Now, it's got a label here, but if you take a look at the actual code, there is no label. So it doesn't matter what these things say or what the icon is over here. They're just additional links. So and I know it's probably small on your screen, guys, but if I were to take this code, and I didn't grab all of it, but let's just take this code for a minute and pretend that it was already all filled out with the information that I was going to, let's zoom in on this for a minute. Give me a minute. Okay. So all you got to do is right here would be your same as URL, right? So just HTTP, same as URL, right? So all you would do is just add more of these, right? So it's a tab, then it's quote, your URL, end quote, and in a comma. And you leave the last comma off the last same as URL in that section of code. I'm not a coder, so I don't know what all that shit's called. I just know how to fumble my way through this stuff when needed. So my point is you can add as many here as you want. Now, I typically recommend just adding tier 1 branded profiles. Citations can work too, but I usually will only add the top level, like the citations that are really powerful. But yeah, you can add as many of them in there as you want. Just remember the last, and then just go validate it. Check it in a structured data testing tool to make sure you didn't make an error somewhere. But it's really simple to do. And then the last thing is all you got to do is go update. If you're talking specifically about like an HTML page hosted on Amazon S3 bucket, all you got to do is just update the index.html file. So go delete the original file from the bucket and then upload the new one. And that's it. That's all you should have to do. Okay.
Yeah, Brady, I like using James Flynn's website.
Okay.
Because he gives you the same as code. All you have to do is enter the URL.
Right. Well, that's what this does too. You just put the URL in here and it puts it in as the same as right here. You see that?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah. All I was saying was there's a limited number of here that they'll give you. So like even if I checked all of these, and these are the fields where you enter the URL in, and it will, populate over here, but there's a limited number of fields. So if you have more than that, all you got to do is just copy the code, put it into a notepad file or use Notepad++, and it formats it better. And then you can actually just copy, this and paste it in underneath and just keep adding as many as you want. It's real simple. It's not something that should be difficult. So, all right. Good question, Fitz. Next one is Dan Demand. I don't know if that's it or not, but it's what it looks like. For a new YouTube playlist, I was going to get views, comments, and the like, but I've been told this is no longer effective. Embeds are the obvious next thing to do. Is there too much when it comes to embeds to move videos up in the SERPs? What is your most recent way to rank a siloed out playlist aside from Google Ads? For some reason, the ads I have spent a considerable amount on and have seen no bump in my rankings. I use used method shared by Bradley in a webinar for video ads to no avail. Well, it's going to depend on, I guess, a lot of factors, Dan. I mean, I got one in particular I'd love to show you right now, but I can't because it's for a project I can't reveal at the moment. But I've got a project that I'm working on right now that I haven't done any SEO to, other than it went out to a tier 1 branded syndication network, which is a brand new network because it's a brand new project. So, and it's just one branded syndication network. And all I've done since that is set up an ad for it, and it's ranking on page 1 for a fairly competitive term. And so again, I see that is, again, my standard operating procedure is to set up ads. If you've got your targeting set correctly, you will get a bump from that. There is absolutely no question about it. So it also, obviously, the video has to be optimized properly as well. So if you've got those two things right, so you're on page correct, and then you're setting up your targeting correctly when you're driving traffic to it from YouTube ads, those are your buying engagement signals from Google. It will work. It's likely that you've got something that's not completed or not optimized well. And it could be the ads not optimized well, or the targeting, or it could be the videos not optimized well, or it could be an uber competitive term. But that said, when it comes to using the YouTube playlist, that's essentially the YouTube silo method, right? So the idea there is to create the silo with the term that you want to rank for. If it's a broader term, then go find all the supporting keywords and then create similar videos that are supporting videos, like supporting articles would be within a silo, and place them all in the playlist. And there's different ways to link, to do the internal linking from within the playlist to help to boost whatever video it is that you want. I would recommend that, don't just link from the video description up to the top of silo, which is the video the keyword that you want to rank for the most. That should be the top of the silo. So video number 1 in the playlist. Then all of the subsequent videos, right? So those would be the supporting articles, essentially, the supporting videos are going to target longer tail keywords that are in that same keyword theme, right? So that same silo, essentially. And then typically people just link from the video description up to the video that they want, or daisy chain them together. So link from one video to the next, to the next, to the next. And then at the end, link back up to the top of the silo. That works too, but use comment links, because comment links, and by the way, you can pin those, but comment links are, at least they used to be, and I haven't checked recently, but I don't think it's changed, are do follow links. When they're YouTube links from YouTube to YouTube comment links, they're do follow links. So use those as well. Okay, so not only link from the video description, which are typically no follow, but link from the comments, and then you can actually pin that link as a pinned comment so that it stays right below the video at all times. Okay, so check that as well. As far as views, comments, and the like, if you're buying spammed views, like you go to a view service and buy comments and likes that way, Google's algorithm or YouTube's algorithm knows that those are fake accounts now that are doing that, because they don't have any real activity. Like, the algorithm can detect that stuff. Marco can go on and on and on about that, to confirm what I'm saying. So that's why I always recommend buying relevant traffic from Google directly, because then you're likely to get real comments, real likes, perhaps real subscribes, and you're getting views from real people. Google knows those are real people because you're buying traffic from Google from known buckets, right? Known buckets meaning known audiences. And that's the whole point. If you're buying spammed, faked engagement signals, the algorithm can detect that, and it just basically disregards. It's not that it harms it anymore. I just think it's ignored. So, as far as embeds, you can go crazy with embeds. You can go ape shit with embeds if you'd like. My assessment has always been, and has been for a long time now, though, if you go out and build, 10,000 backlinks to a video, or get 10,000 embeds for a video that has very few views, then is that natural? No. I mean, you can still brute force SEO stuff doing that kind of stuff, especially with videos. You can still get away with that. But in my opinion, it's a lot better to do smaller embed blasts, like 50 or 100 embeds at a time on like tier 1 embeds, then maybe do some tier 2 stuff and then send some traffic into that. Kind of like what we were just talking about at the beginning of this webinar, right? Send some traffic to some of the pages that the video is embedded on to get views on those pages. That kind of stuff kind of activates the whole process, because now it's looking as, instead of just being a spam SEO tactic, it's actually getting those engagement signals. And YouTube, you can rank with engagement signals alone from YouTube, guys. There's no question. You rank within YouTube. On Google, you might need some more traditional SEO stuff as well, but engagement will help it to rank in Google, Google search as well. So does anybody want to comment on that? Adam, you got any YouTube experience, SEO stuff?
Well, what you said about the ads is what I've done in the past, and that's definitely my go, especially when I don't have an audience or my client doesn't have an audience. It's a pretty quick and high quality way of getting some engagement. It's not always good engagement in the sense that sometimes the comments aren't exactly what I'm looking for, but sure, engagement nonetheless. And indeed, I've seen that on multiple occasions impact my YouTube video rankings in the Google SERPs. So yep, I certainly agree with that.
Yeah, and so, again, with local guys, if you have your geographic targeting set, you can go broader with your topical targeting or your audience targeting. I prefer audience targeting over topical targeting, but you can go broader with that as long as you have a really tight geographic area, because then you're getting clicks, engagement signals from local IPs. So your geographic relevance is more important than topical or audience relevance, in my opinion, if you're trying to rank a local video. If you're trying to rank something that's more global or national, for example, then it's much more important, in my opinion. Well, first of all, you still want to have local IP clicks, and what I mean local is local to whatever your local area would be. If you're looking to rank for a US based term, you'd want your location targeting to be United States, for example. But what I'm saying is topical or audience targeting at that point would be more important, in my opinion, because I've been able to achieve really good local video or local keyword rankings with videos by just using kind of broader topical or audience targeting, but setting my geographic area very tight for just around, within a 30-mile radius around a particular city, for example. That kind of stuff really helps. So again, if you're not seeing any movement at all, like you said, you spent a lot of money and not seeing any bump in rankings, my guess is your targeting is incorrect. Okay. If you were in the mastermind, I'd be happy to analyze that for you live on we got a webinar coming, a mastermind webinar tomorrow. So I don't know if you are or not. If you are, post it in the group. We'll take a look at it for you tomorrow.
And if he's not, then it's a good time to join.
I agree. All right. So Gordon's up. He says, "Hey guys, thank you very much again for your Hump Days help. Okay. It is greatly appreciated. I've been hearing lately about ranking in the Google neighborhood, as it's easier than ranking in the regular GMB 3-pack. What exactly is a Google neighborhood?" That's a good question. Is it different than the regular GMB 3-pack? And if so, how is the ranking protocol different? I don't know what a Google neighborhood is. I've not heard that term, unless somebody was just talking about ranking on a more like, hyper-local level, like suburb-based keywords instead of, citywide, maybe like neighborhood-based, or very small section or boroughs, for example. I don't know, maybe that's what they're talking about. I'm not sure. Does anybody know what Google neighborhood is?
Yep.
What is it?
Okay, it's actually two things. It was started May of last year, I think it was. So yeah, about a year ago. One is Google neighborhood, which allows you to build, interestingly enough, my maps. People say my maps are dead, right, Bradley?
Yeah.
But here's Google last year giving you a whole new platform where you could build a map around your neighborhood, right? This is one thing, because it's my maps, and yes, of course, it's totally different from the GMB 3-pack, because GMBs use Google Maps, not my maps. Now the other project that they started was Neighborly, but Neighborly with a U, because they actually started it in India. So the Neighborly project is for people to form, relationships around the neighborhood in India. It's not yet available everywhere. So it's just two different things. And I don't see, like, it could be beneficial to build, a neighborhood map with all kinds of relevance, and of course your client's project being the most prominent in the neighborhood, driving directions. It uses KML, and you can do a KML download. If you can do a KML download, you can do an upload, and you could do a whole lot of nasty, relevance in using KML, right? We do that with my maps all the time in RYS Academy Reloaded. So yeah, it's two different and distinct things from the GMB 3-pack, unless they've updated it from the last time that I took it. I haven't had a look in about 3 or 4 months regarding the two projects that they started. You know, I try to stay on top of my maps and everything that's going on there because they work so well.
Very good. Thank you. I was unaware of that. It's not something I've even seen as Google Neighborhood. So, okay, cool. So how do you find the URL for a GMB listing to use in authority backlinks for rank boosting? Thanks again. Okay, so go into your GMB dashboard. Click on the info tab. You can even find it on the home tab where it says view on search and view on maps. Just right click, copy link address, paste it into a notepad file, remove any of the odd characters after the CID number, which is essentially the ID number for that location. So at the end of the URL, sometimes there will be like question mark equals EN for English, and then there might be some like coordinates and things like that. You can eliminate all of that stuff. And then you're just left with a maps.google.com URL with something like C equals and or CID equals or something like that. That's your URL. But you want to change the subdomain from maps.google.com to www.google.com, because if you take that, if you right click that link address, as I'm saying, and right click on the view on maps and then copy link address, and you go to a redirect checker like redirectdetective.com or .org, I think it is, or where goes or something like that, and you paste that in, it's a 302 redirect to that same URL, except instead of maps.google.com, it's www.google.com. But the rest of the URL is exactly the same. So my point is, you just want to swap that subdomain from maps to www. And then that URL right there is a straight 301 redirect. And it's not even a redirect. If you take that URL and put it in a redirect checker, it's going to say 200 test OK, right? That's the HTML code or whatever, the header code or whatever. It's test OK at 200. But if you go paste that into the browser, the address bar and click go, then it will load the map listing. And then once the map listing is fully loaded, it will convert to that long, stupid, ugly URL that Maps gives you. So that's why I'm saying it's interesting, because it's essentially a redirect, but there's no redirect in the HTML header. It only converts to that real long URL once the browser is fully loaded, the Maps listing. So that's the best link, in my opinion, to use. I've done some testing with that, and I've got the best results using that. Okay, good question. Dan says, I noticed an email with $17 price for the video lead gen system. Is that an add-on, or what exactly for that is that for? I can't tell you because I don't read all of our emails, Dan. Not sure about that. I'm sure it was probably an order bump, and that was probably before we launched the new version of it. You're probably talking about an older one. Correct me if I'm wrong, but if you have a question specifically about it, find the email and contact us at support@semanticmastery.com. Okay. Tony says, thanks for all the work and advice. Always very useful. I manage a few websites part-time, and I like to follow the Battleplan advice. The Ultimate SEO plugin download page says that this plugin is not translated into English UK yet. Clearly, I would like to use it, but I am in the UK with UK clients. Does this matter? Isn't it pretty much the same except for the odd spellings of a few words? Can anybody correct me on this one? Is there something significantly different between UK English and American English where the plugin wouldn't work?
No, only the spellings, but I don't see how that should matter because you have to type in your titles and your descriptions anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't think that there's any difference. And dude, get the plugin.
Get the paid version. Yeah.
Yeah. The SEO Ultimate Plus. Get away from Yoast. I hate that fucking virus, man.
Yeah, it's all bloat. But seriously, that's a great plugin, guys. Get the paid version, SEO Ultimate Plus. Version 2.0 is coming out soon. It's been in beta testing for months now. It's because the coding behind it has been delayed a few times. But it's a great plugin. And the paid version, I don't think the free version is really supported anymore, anyways. But the paid version is, and it's still my SEO plugin of choice.
It's 2 years old. It probably won't work with the newer WordPress, right? We're at 5.1.1. I think.
You mean the free version won't?
Yeah, the free version. It's just it's not updated. So, but what SEO Ultimate Plus, you get a five site license for what, 45, 46 bucks. Totally worth it. If you're in our mastermind, you would get 10 licenses. So that's another reason. Instead of paying 97 bucks, you pay the regular 47 or whatever, and you get 10 website licenses. So another reason to be in our mastermind. Jeffrey's a buddy, man.
Yep. So yeah, I don't think it would make any difference as far as UK English versus US English. I can't imagine it would. We've got a lot of members that are from the UK that are using it, and I haven't heard that before. So, but again, they're probably using the paid version. All right, Gurgley, I guess, says, "Hey guys, thanks for these webinars. Usually, how many days does it take for an RYS stacks to start to show their power?" That varies. It does take a while. It does. There's no question. It's not something that happens overnight, but the boost that you can get from it can be quite significant, and it can last for years. I just demonstrated that again last week when Marco and I did the MGYB and Syndication Academy update webinar. I was talking about that. I can demonstrate it again, but my point is the effect from that will last for a long, long time. How long does it take for it to show any boost? That really depends. And I notice sometimes it takes a lot longer than others. Marco, you can comment on that?
Yeah, sure. And I'm gonna go totally with you. It depends. It depends on the competition. It depends on your keyword targets. It depends on how well your website structure is set up. It depends if you're aiming it at GMB, right? And if you're trying to pop it into the 3-pack, it depends on how much power you're putting behind it. Are you doing press releases? Are you doing link building? Are you doing link building to your drive stack and press releases? Are you doing tiered link building? This all matters because that's the amount of power that you can push. If you read the done for you users guide, it recommends waiting 21 days because that's when you clear the Google dance. And some people will say that there's no such thing as a Google dance. They call it a sandbox. Call it whatever you want. It takes 21 days from the moment you start for your project to settle into where Google thinks it could be. So on the 22nd day, you go and you take a look, whatever rank tracker you're using. I like to use Search Console and Analytics to see what kind of bump I'm getting, to see if anything moved up. Plus, some local rank trackers if it's local, or some other type of rank trackers. Once you have the data, guys, you need data. You can't go on suppositions. You can't go on what if. You can't go on how long will it. You have to have the data. Once you have the data and you see that you have stuff on second page that you can push up, then you can hit it with press releases. You can hit it with a PR bomb. You can hit it with, you can do a My Map embeds and then link build to the My Map embeds. There's tons of things that you can do. That's why you get the user's guide. And if you didn't get the user's guide, you should have gotten a link in your email, by the way, to download it. Then what you need to do is contact support at mgyb.co and ask for your done for your user's guide, because that tells you what to do.
There you go. And again, this is what we demonstrated on the webinar last week that I was talking about, guys, which is nuts. This was all done from a drive stack. That's the Google site within the drive stack. Okay. This is the WordPress doc. This was done. Take a look at the date on this. I know it's probably small. I'll zoom in on just one of them, guys. But look at the date on that, May 16th, 2015. So that was almost 4 years ago. And if you take a look at this, guys, this was just and this was 4 years ago when I didn't even know, like I just learned how to build a drive stack that day. And I didn't even have instructions from Marco. He just told me about the concept. And it was on a Saturday. And I literally I stopped doing what I was doing that day and spent about 5 hours building my first drive stack without even any instruction, just based upon the little bit of information Marco told me. And this, if you take a look at this, guys, I mean, again, ranking number 1 for 4 years, and the WordPress.com site has pushed my main site up and put me into, I've got a local IP, so I'm showing a knowledge panel as well. But for various keywords or variations of the keywords, I'm ranked for many of these properties, again, with doing absolutely no backlink building and just actually doing the drive stack stuff, right? So again, number one for outranking all the other Virginia SEO agencies with a shitty Google site that has shitty spun content. Like literally, that was a spun article from a content farm, and it's got nothing but a bunch of dry. That's a broken Google Plus embed because Google Plus is dead, and like it's just absolutely been dominating for 4 freaking years now. And what's interesting is this WordPress.com site, free WordPress.com site. If you guys go view page source on this, the only content on this page and the post body of this page is this right here. The rest of that is just embedded iframes. They're just embedded drive stack files. There's absolutely no written content on this page, guys, except for that one line of text right there. And it's been ranking number 1, or in this case, that's what, number 3 for years. And there's no go check the backlink profile on this stuff. It's insane. And so again, like, you know, it took probably, I don't know, 7 or 8 weeks before I remember, because I had been checking on it for several weeks. I was checking on it to see if anything had happened from this stack that I built. It was the very first one that I'd ever done. And I don't build them now anyways. We got somebody that builds them for us, right? You guys do too. You can hire us to do it. But I looked at for weeks, I kind of tracked this, and then I gave up on it because I didn't see anything from it. And then one day somebody had said something, and I said, oh yeah, let me go check on that. And it had been several weeks, and I went and checked on it, and it was boom, number 1. And it's been number 1 ever since. And it's just been crazy, you know? So it does work. And that's not the only example. That's just the one that I don't mind showing. You know what I mean? So be patient. Also, some of the other things you can do is build links to it. That's, you know, we've got a link building service specifically designed for that at MGYB. So, you know, you can hit it with kitchen sink spam and it'll take it like a champ. All right. Next is, what's the point of an ad ID page? Did you make any tests with ad ID pages if they make a difference? Yeah, we wouldn't have taught it if we didn't make tests, if we didn't test it first. So we all, you know, everything that we do, we've tested, and it's has to do with the reason it works so well is iframe stacking, which is taught in RYS Academy primarily, but the ad ID page principle or the method has been taught in pretty much all of our different paid courses, and that just works really, really well because of iframe stacking. Okay, and it works. It does make a difference because you can use the ad ID page or any sort of stacked iframe page. Doesn't have to be an ad ID page. We just do that because that's very specific to local, guys. But again, you can create tier 1 properties that are using a Google site, for example, with a bunch of iframe stuff that you do in there, which I'm not going to get into specifics here, but then that becomes a link building target, right? That becomes a target that can boost all of the assets. So yes, it does absolutely help. If you're in any one of our paid trainings and you'll have the you'll know how to build them. If you're in the mastermind, we can get into that much deeper if you'd like. You know, we can talk about why and how, and I can show you other examples. Okay. Dan says I will have to go through. So he's the one asking about the YouTube ads and a playlist and all that. He says I have to go through with the fine tooth comb because what you mentioned I've done with the exception of comment links. Thanks for the input. Yeah, no problem. Also, Dan, think about this. If you have other profiles available, like from syndication networks, for example, other Google profiles that have YouTube accounts, you can go in and actually take that video and add that video that you want to rank for in other playlists. So in other Google profiles, create a playlist, a keyword optimized playlist for the keyword that you want to rank for, and then add the video that you're trying to rank into that playlist in other Google accounts, right? Like it, comment it from those other Google accounts, as long as you're not all logged in from the same IP. So for example, and even if you are, it's okay, but not, what I'm saying is don't just go clear your cache and cookies and log into another Google account. That doesn't work. What I'm saying is if you're using something like Browsio or Ghost Browser or something like that, where your browsing sessions remain intact for each profile, you can even use the same IP. That's fine, because all of those different profiles are going to be acting as if they're their own, you know, their own profile. They'll have their own browsing histories and things like that. And so you can use those to kind of help give it a boost. I ran a test for one of the videos that I had done some standard SEO stuff. Like, it went through my syndication networks, and I had set up a video ad for it, a YouTube ad for it, to start getting some engagement. But it was bouncing on page 2, like it was hovering on page 2. And then all I did was I took 5 different Browsio profiles that I had that have a significant history built for them. And I went and watched the video. I commented with one profile. I liked it with another profile. Then with the fifth, I did several things, but with the fifth profile, again, they were more aged Google accounts, but that have had a a significant browsing history and activity that have accrued within those profiles for over the last couple of years, really. But the last thing I did was I created a playlist, keyword optimized playlist with the fifth profile, added that video, then I commented on it with the playlist URL as the comment, and like within, I'm not kidding, within 30 seconds it jumped to page 1, and it's been on page 1 ever since. So that kind of stuff really does help. If you can get the video added to other people's playlists, essentially, even if you're doing it yourself, that will help too. Okay. All right, we're almost out of time, but we can run through the next two, I think. Hey guys, one more question. Did you ever run into a situation to take the #1 organic GMB rank from a competitor when both your client and the competitor had the same name in GMB and nearly the same exact match domains? They both shoot for the same exact match brand name. What makes Google decide that one brand is actually now another brand, e.g. one website taking over the top positions, even knowledge panel in some cases? Usually navigational type search queries, which again, it's an engagement or an activity signal. We've talked about this many times in the past, but what's called site weight is part of the algorithm. I think that was introduced into the algorithm way back in like 2010 or so. I remember I learned about it in 2011. But essentially, if all things are if two brands with a website were equal, all things being equal, which I know is damn near impossible, but if they were, if one site has the navigational search queries and then the click-throughs more than the other, that one's going to have more weight in Google's eyes. In other words, is given more weight, given more authority. So what I mean by that is doing navigational search queries, a query like a brand search or a website name search. So in other words, if it's joesplumbing.com, we'll just use that as an example as the website, and the name of the company is Joe's Plumbing, then people doing searches for Joe's Plumbing. Now, I know you're saying that you've got a competitor with the exact same name, but you've got a unique URL, right? So if you've got joesplumbing.net and the other guy's joesplumbing.com, then I would do like joesplumbing.net searches, like a search for that domain name in Google and then click through. You could do navigational searches, which would be brand plus services, like so different types of services, service keywords or product keywords, depending on what type of business you're trying to promote. Looking for the contact information. So Joe's Plumbing contact or Joe's Plumbing phone number. Like seriously, that type of a search query, Joe's Plumbing plus phone number. Like you put that in, and then if it pops up with the right phone number on the right listing, click through. Those kind of things. Now, it's not something that you can do from the same IP that it's going to have an effect. But if you can kind of crowdsource that out, there's ways to do that, right? Micro task workers, for example. Those type of navigational queries will help to push. And now it's something that you have to maintain, though. So, until once you take over that position or get your knowledge panel to appear as opposed to the competitors, a lot of times organic activity will take over anyways and will help it to maintain that. But you can force that issue. You can also do it with ads. Again, I can't talk about how to do that here, but you actually can do part of that using Google Ads or even Facebook ads. So again, it's all about that activity and engagement signals on the brand that you want to promote, and that's going to help to give it that edge. I mean, you can do some other standard SEO stuff, but I found that Marco and I have both done tests where we've been able to manipulate knowledge panel or in things like auto suggest by specific engagement signals. Marco, you want to comment on that?
No, that handled it perfectly.
Yeah, that's been my experience as well, using stuff like micro workers is one of my favorite, but there's a number of other ones that are good depending on where you live and what.
Yeah, and that's an old process.
Yeah,
talked about. Ivan Budimir taught me that years and years. I think it was 2011. Might have been 2012, but that's where he introduced that concept in microtask workers. And that's what I call click-through spam, but so CT spam, but it works really well. You have to engineer it correctly, but if you do it right, then you can significantly change like the positioning of a website, and you can also change like auto suggest, suggested search queries and all kinds of stuff doing that.
Yeah, it's good for like reputation management, where brand name spam comes up and you want to put something above it in auto suggest. So I've used it for that. But yeah, like you said, it's the kind of thing you have to maintain when you stop
Right.
doing it for a period of time. In my experience, it often reverts to what it was if you've not done anything else.
All right, guys, we actually have to wrap it up. Sorry, we're at the 5 o'clock mark and I have to run, but I appreciate all the questions. They did come in. We were worried that it was going to be a slow day today, but it wasn't. So thanks, everybody. And Adam, hey, man, thanks for hanging out with us today.
Oh, totally my pleasure. I'm really, really grateful for you having me. It's just been a little bit of fun.
Absolutely, man. Anytime. So thanks, Marco, for hanging out, dude. We'll see y'all the next
All
time.
right, man. Thanks, Adam. Bye, everyone.